A controversial new law in California is at the center of a brutal murder case. 6 years ago, an elderly couple asleep in their beds was stabbed to death a total of 128 times. With no physical evidence, investigators feared they might never find the killer.
Then a surprising tip led to the arrest and conviction of a 15-year-old. But now new law might set that young man free when he turns 25. And the family of his victims is determined to keep him behind bars. That story is tomorrow night on 48 Hours, and Erin Moriarty is here with a preview.
It was the most horrific, depraved murder I've ever seen.
Yolo County District Attorney Jeff Reisig says the stabbing deaths of Chip Northup and Claudia Maupin terrified the college town of Davis, California, especially when the killer seemed to vanish into thin air.
I was certain that they were going to find some forensic evidence in the crime scene. They found nothing.
The case went unsolved for 2 months, and then police got a tip from a teenager.
What are you reporting?
Double homicide.
His best friend, Daniel Marsh, was bragging about killing the couple. Investigators brought Marsh in.
You were there.
Me?
Mm-hmm.
That's ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous?
I'm a kid.
The high school student denied all knowledge of the murders.
I don't hurt people.
But after over 3 hours of questioning, the facade began to crumble. Marsh admitted that for years he had fantasized about killing.
Every time I look at someone, in my mind, I see flashes of images of me killing them.
The night of the murders, Marsh says he was hunting for someone to kill and came upon Chip and Claudia's open window.
I got a hole in the screen, climbed in through the back.
He calmly told investigators he enjoyed stabbing them.
I'm not gonna lie, it felt amazing.
And Daniel thought he'd get away with it, taping the bottom of his shoes so he wouldn't leave prints and wearing gloves. Hidden at his home, police found the knife he used.
I kept it as a souvenir.
Just 15 at the time of the murders, prosecutors charged Marsh as an adult. He was convicted and sentenced to 52 years to life. But just 4 years later, a new California law was passed to protect juveniles from being tried as adults. And that might set Marsh free on his 25th birthday. Defense expert psychiatrist Matthew Soulier believes Marsh deserves a second chance.
I don't think he's worth throwing away, in my opinion.
But Chip and Claudia's family is determined to do whatever they can to keep Marsh behind bars.
All right, here now with us is 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty. This is such an interesting story. We've been talking about it all throughout the commercials and up until the moment that the piece played out here. First of all, what's changed in this law?
Well, just last fall, the governor signed into law an understandable law, which basically says that no one under the age of 16, no matter what kind of crime they commit, can be tried as an adult. And the theory is that you're very immature under the age of 16. After you've been in juvenile detention up to age 25, you're going to grow up, you're going to be a different person. But the reason why we focused on this case was because Daniel Marsh is just not your normal case. He was 15 when he committed these horrific murders. He wanted to commit more. Luckily, he was caught. And the big problem is he enjoyed it. And so now today he says, and his attorneys say, he's now 21. He has changed. He's been rehabilitated. But he has been diagnosed as a psychopath. And even though not all psychopaths commit murder, this is a guy who did, who enjoyed it. So the big question is, can he change?
Right. That is the question. I mean, this might be sort of a simple question, but what exactly is a psychopath? Because I think we hear psychopath, sociopath, all that.
Right. You know, and we use it loosely. You know, when we're mad at someone, we'll go, oh, he's a psychopath.
Exactly. And can you evolve out of it? Can you therapy out of it?
Well, that's, no one really knows for sure. That's the big question in Daniel Marsh's case. So there's actually an assessment called the Hare Assessment, and they take a look at a number of factors. And this young man, and so some of it is lack of empathy, pathological pathological liar, manipulative. And he scored 35.8 out of 40, which is an extremely high.
Meaning extremely high that he's a psychopath.
Yes.
Okay.
So the big question is, and I spoke to psychiatrists on both sides, and Dr. Logan, who's probably one of the best known, he's a Canadian psychiatrist, says, no, you cannot. Once you've scored that high, you're not going to change. You can pretend, you can control your behavior, but will Daniel Marsh control his behavior? And here, under this new law, number one, you get out at 25. Maybe they could hold him till 27. But then your records are sealed under this law. So also he would get out and not have this background. Nobody is supervising. You don't want to throw anyone away, but this is a tougher one, and he's not the only case. There are a handful of cases that could be affected by this new law that could allow juveniles who appear to be very dangerous back out on the street.
Wow. So what's next, I guess, in this case? Because it's so heartbreaking to hear the family members and what they're sort of going through.
Oh, my gosh. They are, because you realize they had to go through a trial, then a hearing to see whether he should have really been tried as a juvenile instead of an adult. Now they have this hanging over their heads. The big question is whether this new law will apply to his case. Was his case finalized enough? You know, it appeared to be, but they're going to court. Daniel Marsh and his attorneys are going to court saying the new law should apply to his case. In that case, then, we don't know. Maybe he'll get a new trial in the juvenile. Who knows what that will mean. But the bottom line is, if it does apply to his case, he would be out around the age of 25 or 27. Wow. And so that, you know.
Scoring that high, though, on the test, I know you can't keep somebody. Can you keep somebody in jail because
of the potential of what they could do?
Well,
actually, that's an interesting question. So if he would be put in a juvenile detention center, they can say, when they're about to let him out, they can be concerned and ask for, it's a hearing.
Right.
It's actually a jury type of hearing, a jury trial. But that, again, would have to be done every 2 years to keep him in.
So would that be to determine whether or not he was
a danger to society?
And would he then go to a psychiatric facility? I mean, if he's diagnosed with a psychiatric problem.
Knows? It's all, you know, when I try to ask a lot of these questions to the prosecutors, they're all like, this is a new law. We don't know.
Right.
We don't know. So
interesting.
We're just trying to guess what this will all mean.
And certainly our hearts go out to the family members. This is such a fascinating story. Erin, thank you very much. Always good to have you. You can see Erin's full report, Portrait of a Killer, on 48 Hours tomorrow night at 10, 9 Central on CBS.